What's up, guys? Welcome to the Green Dragon podcast. I am your host, Jake. I've got fellow host Tom here with me, and we will be without our usual intro man, Aiden, today. He's out celebrating his birthday tonight, so we'll give him a pass for missing this one. But he'll be back and ready to go next week when we resume our Foundations of Freedom podcast. So we're really excited to be getting that one back up and running. That was a pretty successful segment for us, and we'll have a lot of really great content coming your guys' way in the next few weeks here. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, we are joined by a guest, Joe. First time on the podcast. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I understand that you're a music guy and are interested in discussing music in general, in particular, patriotic music. So I guess if anyone in the audience took a wild guess on your background and said you went to Wyoming Catholic College, they would be correct. You, like Tom, are a fellow alum, put a pretty good pipeline of guests here that have all contributed pretty well to our show. So happy to have you on. And if you maybe just want to share a little bit about yourself and what intrigued you about coming onto the show and discussing music.
Yeah, absolutely. So you hit the big thing, WCC graduate 2021. I had 4 years in the music program there, in the choirs, helping the choir masters, directing a choir. So once I got out of college, I definitely was looking for keep that niche in my life. Since music was not my career, it's never going to be my career. And got involved in my parish, one parish over from me, in Holland, PA, and started cantering, got in with the music program there. We do at our parish a patriotic concert every year, July 3rd. We team up with the Verity Band, which is a 100 some odd year old concert band from Norristown, PA, which is not far from Philly. So we have them come and play, and then they have a couple of parishioners come and sing. Usually there's one cantor. I went to the show 2 years ago and then thought, it'd be worth getting involved. So I spoke with the Monsignor, spoke with the director, and for 2 years now consecutively, I've gotten to sing the patriotic show. It's a 2-hour program with just a huge lineup of music, Broadway, Disney, for the families and the kids, but also your American classics, your wartime songs, rock and roll, and 50s, 60s, 70s, quintessentially American, Jersey Boys, and then culminating with a fireworks show if the show is outside, and Stars and Stripes Forever. And so driving home from rehearsal a couple weeks ago, I thought to myself about what you guys are doing here, and just thought it'd be really cool to talk about patriotic music in the context of America, because I think there's a rich history there.
Absolutely. And are you involved in any other like do you play gigs with patriotic music, or is it mainly just your parish?
It's really, so the concert goes on tour, and that's about it. So
Okay.
last year we played 3 shows, one at the parish, one in the band's hometown of Norristown, and then we would take it to a retirement home for nuns in Malvern, PA. And so this year I'm going to be in law school by the time we take it on tour, so I won't be able to do the second 2 shows. But the big one's the parish show. We had 1,200 people come out this last year on the parish lawn. So
Gotcha. That sounds awesome. You mentioned law school. Where are you headed?
I'll be heading out to Ohio Northern University in less than a month.
Nice. Good for you. And is that are you going to be pursuing any type of music there? Music groups?
I wish, most likely not. I've got a stack of books here. I was showing Tom before we came on here how many books they are, how thick they are. That's really going to be what I eat, sleep, and breathe for 3 years.
Yeah,
So I won't be able to do anything out there. I'm hoping if I can get work back home in between years to do the patriotic show at my parish throughout. So
gotcha. Yeah, that was the reason I asked. I knew that's a tough schedule to juggle. You'll definitely have your hands full.
Yeah, I mean, talking offline, Jake, but Joe is going to help make a couple theme songs and like an intro for Green Dragon podcast, and then
Oh, okay.
like an actual theme song for Life.
Yeah.
So I think Joe will definitely be a great contributor to what we've got going on. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a theme song would be good. That's something we're lacking. We've got the intro video, we've got the Paul Revere introduction that we do on all of our platforms as a preview. But yeah, no, an introductory song, something to really give a definition would be very very applicable. So yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely have I've had some ideas and some sketches that I've not gotten to sit down and really work out what that's going to be like yet. I haven't gotten to talk to Tom and Aiden in detail about it, but it's going to definitely play on the town's theme, play on play on some of the more meaningful. It's going to speak to the sort of the American ear.
yeah, we'll be looking forward to it. Keep us posted on that. I'm excited. Um, Speaking of which, I was just a little bit curious. I'm sure you have a pretty good understanding of the history of patriotic music. I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, patriotic music's sort of this very broad and like just expansive genre that really at its basic is broadest definition is expressing a love for a country. It's the people of the country expressing their love for their country. um and when we think about what inspires this historically, it's music that comes around in times of war, in times of national crisis, when we, as people, as citizens of a country, band together and just find one united identity in our country. So you look at any number of the songs that we hear at July 4th parades and marching bands. Um, they have their roots in the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I, and then you get into the American bandstand style music from World War II, and we were inspiring our troops. Uh, in World War II, we were banding together with the Cold War, anti-communist songs. And so a long answer to a short question. It really at its broadest form, it's expressing love for the country.
Yeah, I was listening to music today, uh, just to kind of listen in more of that idea. I looked at that link in reference you sent, talking about patriotic music, Joe, and I started to notice, especially in the anthems for the military, like the Marines anthem, Air Force, and Army, it's all based around. It seems like kind of like a jubilee sounding theme. Like they go off to war, but they're inspired with hope that they will bring a better future for their families at home. And it seemed like that is a very central part to patriotic music, is it's very home based. Like you leave to come back. Um, and it seems like it focuses a lot on all of the special moments you have in the land of free. It's um, the times you're with your family, the things, the freedom you have to do and live the life that you want to live. I thought it was just really neat to see how, especially in like the main themes, like nationally around like the national anthem or God Bless America, it's all very centrally based on home, which I thought was pretty cool. I haven't listened to other countries' patriotic music, but I thought that was a neat theme with America.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with other countries and their brand of patriotic music, but I know what you're talking about, especially with the military themes. One of the sort of my defining moment in our concert every year is an homage to the armed forces, and so sing pretty much all of them. Like all branches of the military are represented. And you listen to the words, and it's that nobility of going off the tell me not, sweet, that I am unkind, from the nunnery thy chaste breast and quiet mind, toward arms I fly, sort of theme of pursuing this higher cause. The Marines, we're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Um, very home centered, very God centered. Um, Exciting. The Air Force is one of my favorites. My grandfather served in the Air Force, and so um, it's just a particularly energetic piece, um, recognizing the sacrifice of the leaving of the home, the sacrifice of potentially dying on the battlefield, um, the encouragement of these good men. Nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force, Coast Guard. We're all for you. When you look at these words, particularly, they are very meaningful.
Yeah, like you listen to the song and you feel like you're right there next to all the men. Like that's such a neat feeling. Like you feel like you're a part of what they're fighting for, and you just you feel and want to honor them in some way for their sacrifice, which I think is the idea behind the themes, is like understanding what they gave up for us and then being able to sing about the goodness that they brought us through their service.
Yeah, it definitely has that unifying effect.
Yeah, I don't know if you both have heard Johnny Cash's song, "This Ragged Flag."
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with it.
Okay. I just heard it for the first time when I was making dinner. But it's a song about Johnny Cash coming to this town. I don't know if it was him in the song, but he looks at the flag. He says like, "Looks like that one's been around a little long. Looks pretty old." And then the local guy in town gives him the history of how that flag crossed the Delaware and then made it through the Civil War and World War One and Two, and is still staying strong, and it can still take a lot more. And it's such a cool song. I'll put it in the show notes and share it with you guys. But it it kind of wrapped that whole idea of what America has stood for this whole time, like a place of freedom for everyone, and how that's been attacked so hard for so long, but we still stand, and that flag still stands with us. So it's just like that thing we're talking about. Like it brings people together, and it's that unifying factor over a common cause that just I think really speaks about the American spirit.
I mean, music has a way of speaking to the soul that ordinary words don't. And so when you're in this times of great uncertainty, um, I mean, even when we look at in the last couple of years, when as a third party watching what was going down between Russia and Ukraine, we see, we felt that as a country. We felt the, the disturbance that came with that. So when we are a nation at war, how much greater that disturbance. And so music has a way of inspiring and comforting, that just, you know saying any number of those lyrics, their patriotic song lyrics, to somebody in that situation may not get through to them. Music does speak to them speak to you on a deeper level.
Absolutely. And Joe, I know you went through kind of the different eras, World War One, World War Two, and beginning all the way back in the Revolutionary War. So that's um, kind of the history of it. But I was curious, are there any modern patriotic artists or songwriters that you are drawn to nowadays? I gotta be honest, I'm not too well versed in modern patriotic music, meaning like 2010s and on. So I was wondering if you could maybe enlighten us on that.
But since the 80s, we have not had many artists come forward and write patriotic music, or at least I should say, not many bring to the mainstream public patriotic music, mostly because now so many record labels are international. It's very hard to have this patriotic spirit, up front and center, because it's not trendy, it's not
Right.
cool. Um, at some point, maybe there'll be a TikTok trend on it, and we'll see it come to the mainstream. But right now, no. I want to say there were songs in the early 2000s that paid homage to 9/11.
Yeah,
Um,
I know we had like Lee Greenwood was prevalent early 2000s. I remember he did the Proud to Be American at Yankee Stadium after 9/11. So I think that
right.
was like between 2000 2010. I think was his heyday. But yeah, really since then, he's the only modern one I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, I think some country artists sort of sit on a fine line between patriotic and just kind of singing about the American dream, you know, your chicken fried and your beer and all of that, but just sort of the American dream, but not necessarily being a patriotic, if we're using the definition we've established tonight.
That's more like feel good music about the country rather than like a tribute to it. Yeah. Are there some songs, Joe, that really speak to you, like that you find particularly inspiring?
Um, I love the Battle Hymn of the Republic. I think when you say patriotic song, um that is the quintessential hymn. I want to say it was the music had different lyrics originally, and then the lyrics we know were eventually set to it. Um, but that it's just the melody is catchy, the lyrics are just beautiful. All the verses, not just the first one that everyone knows. Um, but that was, and I'm going also by like that's something that we sang in front of 1,200 people. That one was always it's considered a fan favorite. You got all 1,200 people standing up and applauding at the end of um this recognition of, well, it's a hymn, to God. It's an elegy to Christ. um so that one has a special place in my heart. I love the American bandstand music of the 40s, the late 30s and the 40s. There was this whole like movement during World War II of these sort of light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek songs that um were just written to encourage the American troops overseas, yeah, or wherever they were. Um, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, I think, was in there, or at least I'll Be Home for Christmas was, is one of them. I'll Be Seeing You, Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree, the White Cliffs of Dover. There's this like whole list of some songs that have more meaningful lyrics. White Cliffs of Dover is just talking about, you know, love and laughter and peace and harmony. Um, but then you've got these songs about, like Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree, Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree with anyone else but me till I come marching home. Just these fun little songs, um, that both were written for our troops and also acknowledged that the wars were fought at home as well. We think about the housewives that had to dedicate themselves to the war effort, that had to make a lot of sacrifices because food was being rationed, materials were being rationed, blackout curtains. That was more of an English thing, but during air raids. So there were sacrifices made on both sides of the battlefield, at home and in the field. So those songs, I think, particularly, acknowledge that, even in humorous ways.
Most definitely. I never really thought of it that way, but that's so true. Like, there had to be something to help inspire through all that suffering on both sides. Yeah. I'm with you though. We used to play back at home in the homeschool band, the Battle Hymn of the Republic a lot, and that was always a favorite of mine as well. We had a marching band, so we would do like 6 or 7 parades, and we all played like the patriotic music. Well, our band, we were called the Patriots, so it fit pretty well. But yeah, it brings back a lot of memories when I hear those songs again today. I'm like, yeah, just me on the bass drum or the snare drum, just going along down the street. But, yeah, I like what you shared about the like those smaller songs that spoke to the housewife and the mom as well as the soldier. What's your take on that, Jake?
I think it just again comes full circle to the unifying effect that we discussed, and we're going from the housewives to the soldiers overseas, still separated by thousands of miles, but have that unifying factor of the music to keep the country intact, even as it might seem like it's falling to pieces during an all-out war. So, yeah, I guess, are there any songs in particular that you think are, I guess, any patriotic songs that you think are fitting for the time that we're living in right now? Kind of an oddly phrased question, but
It's a cop-out answer. All of them.
yeah,
The time we're living in now is an exceptionally self-centered time. We have influencers who are telling people what to buy, what to think. The fitness industry is, either all, great, or it's all toxic. You're either in it for the strength or you're in it for the physique, and most people are in it for the physique. We're obsessed with the self. And one of the key themes when you listen to any good patriotic song is the humility, the sacrifice of the self, the embracing of the many. And that's something I think we need to be embracing now. I was actually, as Tom was speaking here, I was just thinking about I will be interested because the type of patriotic music definitely evolves with, it depended on the war. I mean, when we were in the Cold War, we had a lot of stuff that was very more, um, this land is your land, this land is my land, sort of deal. World War II, we had these tongue-in-cheek home front songs. Um, the Revolutionary War, we were just making fun of the Brits and the people who had their allegiance to Britain. Um, it'll be interesting to see what the role of patriotic music, or what the role of music will be in unifying our nation, our exceptionally divided nation, in the next American conflict, and how will that patriotic music manifest itself? Because history has proven it's been different every time.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer, and I think it probably answers my earlier question of why maybe patriotic music isn't as prevalent as that. It really doesn't fit the culture in that it takes the focus off of oneself and transfers that to a higher cause. So yeah, yeah, maybe it's a little out of style right now, at least in America.
Huh. When you were speaking, Joe, I was thinking about our music class back in school, and we listened to Dvorak's Symphony for a New World. And have you listened to that one, Jake?
Yeah, I think I actually saw that one live one time.
Oh, cool.
Pretty
So
pretty inspiring.
yeah, I was trying to think of like, because when we listened to it, we all were like, yeah, that really seems American. Like, you just listen to it, like that makes sense. And I was trying to think of why it sounds like that. And when you listen to the song, it sounds like you're on a journey. So it feels like you're in a pioneer wagon, and you're like seeing the landscape and everything's calm, and bam, like something hits you and you have to like contend with it. And then things go back to normal, but then it gets bigger and bigger, like when civilization starts to bustle and things start to get moving. And then you have a lot more smaller like excitements, and then there's like the really big ones when we go to war or something. And so it seems like it kind of takes you through that path of like you come to America with nothing, you find a place to build, you start to set up your homes, your shops, you start to make your civilization, and then you're given all these trials and tests. And it almost seems like the American way is, can you withstand all of those and still have your home? And it seems like that's like the real test of American is like, will you choose freedom or will you choose slavery? And I think every American has to ask that question, but I think the music, especially of like wartime, asks us all like, what are we willing to sacrifice for the good we have here?
Manifesting, that was deep.
I was I was trying to hit that, like I think we're so used to Joe, like, and especially towards senior year, getting deeper and deeper into the finding the meaning of things. And so now, like, when I hear something like, what is like the heart and root of that? And so I think sometimes I go a little too meta all at once. And then, yeah,
No,
good.
I mean, the American dream definitely. I mean, endurance really is like part of the American dream. I mean, that's why they consider The Great Gatsby the great American novel, because it's about endurance. But that is the theme of patriotic music. It's our national anthem, and our flag was still there. Um, so you are getting at a common thread. Um, we came here to escape the yoke of Britain. We fought a war over it. John Adams fought relentlessly for our independence to even be discussed in Congress, to be voted on. We fought a war over it. We fought Civil War. We fought, but we fought against the Nazis. We fought against communism. Um, we've settled. Settlers come out west. They die of dysentery if you've played the Oregon Trail. And that flag is still there. So you are definitely onto something there. I agree.
Yeah, it's like uh something I've noticed. It seems like America is usually always underestimated in what we can do. And then there's something inside of us that like rises to the call of duty, and we're able to fulfill that mission, that task that we're given. And on the other side, through all that suffering, we're able to make something better, which I think really may be more of a human thing, because like in life, God gives us trials to test our character, and if we choose rightly, then there's always something good on the other side. But maybe it's like with America, we started out with that choice. Like we weren't born into a country already existing. And even today, we're asked to be very much of a part of how things are run. And so it's almost like we're born into a very young country, and we're asked, how will you make this country your own and better off your fellow countrymen? So it seems like maybe a constant question for Americans, especially because with the freedom we have, we're able to do so much. We're able to use our minds and our abilities to create something that's good, where we're not handed as many handicaps as maybe a country that's been here for longer. So just some thoughts that have been stirring around up there, but yeah, I'm interested what your guys' take is.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll pose another question to Joe. I was curious. I know we mentioned earlier that you're looking to help us out with a theme song for the podcast. So I was wondering what goes into the structure when you sit down to write a patriotic song. What are you what goes through your mind? What are you looking to put into that to give it that patriotic effect?
Well, my creative process is extremely uncreative. I never try to reinvent the wheel. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I usually will start with a couple of reference pieces, things that exist, and say, all right, I want it to have the same feel, the same emotional, as that. This piece that I'd like to write for you guys, I definitely hear taps. I hear that sort of inspirational um call to duty that you sort of hear. I don't want to say like in the Wounded Warrior commercials, but that's where my mind goes, and some of the other American and patriotic, um pro-American, pro-patriotic causes that we see advertised on television. So that's my reference point. When I sit down to write, I just kind of let the music let it speak to me. So I always start with something that someone else has done to and say that is what I want to aspire to. Now I'm not copying them. I'm not going to um wouldn't be plagiarizing. I'd be, but I know what I want to shoot for.
Absolutely. And do you have ones that you've written? Have you put out any anything on YouTube, or where can people find you?
And nothing patriotic. I do have a YouTube because I do write video game music, and I've sort of built a
Okay.
small portfolio there. A lot of my work for the video game is on their official platforms on YouTube as well. But my some of my work separately on there is portfolio. I'm very bad at keeping up with creating content. So
Oh yeah. No, it's tough with everything else you got going on, school and whatnot. So it's got to almost be like a full-time full-time gig for you
right.
if you want to really stick with it. But yeah, and what video game? What type of video game did you say it was?
So it used to be a game owned by Disney in the 2000s called Toontown Online.
Okay.
They closed in like 2011, 2012-ish, and then some developers got together and said, we have a huge fan base that, you know, their childhoods were defined by this game. Mine was. Um, we should bring it back um, for free, all volunteer, no one's getting paid. Um, that way Disney can't sue us. And um, yeah, I came on board with them in the middle of the pandemic to have something to do with my time. Somehow managed to juggle that with senior year of college, and I've been doing it ever since. I now run the audio department there, and I do a little less composing, a little bit more managing. I've got three other composers under me and two sound designers, so I'm just making sure that the team's audio needs are being met and people are keeping up with their deadlines.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you putting your time to good use during the pandemic. I spent most of it watching Netflix, so that's good. Good use of your time.
Yeah, do you want to tell a little bit, Joe, about like your other music experience? Because Jake at school, Joe did a lot. He played the piano, it was fun, and then
Yeah,
watched all the others.
I hate talking about myself, but okay. Um, I have been playing piano for 20 years, 24. Yeah, I've been playing about 20 years. Um, I have a unholy obsession with Billy Joel. Um, and so he's the reason I play piano. Finally got to see him in Houston last year, so that was exciting. Um, sang on and off with choirs, took a couple of informal voice lessons, never could really keep up with anything. Got involved in high school choirs, and that just kind of opened up a lot of doors. When I was when I moved high schools in the middle of ninth grade, I got involved in pretty much everything: choir, a cappella group, concert band, clarinet, um, handbells. Um, Played my fair share of American and patriotic music there too. Some really excellent pieces um, that paid tribute to American tragedies, the Columbine shooting, um, Flight 93. So um, some beautiful pieces there. I've always wanted to sit down and write something instrumental to pay homage to something, but so far other greater composers have done it better than me. So um, nothing original there. I took 2 years of collegiate level music theory in high school. Almost went to school for music before I decided that music was a passion, not a career for me. And got so when I got to WCC, got involved in the choir there. Um, when our choir director left freshman year, we got a new professor from England who needed someone to help him in the office. So I got involved, just helping them print music and keep up with the administrative side of things. And that just materialized into having a second choir under me under my direction. So our senior year, we realized we needed two choirs. We had Roman Catholics and Byzantine Catholics on campus. And we wanted to give them equal love musically. So I got the leftovers who failed the Roman choir audition, and I got to whip them into a choir of somewhat capable singers. And since we were never told to stop, I'm assuming I did my job. Yeah, that's a pretty much SparkNotes version of my background. I've done a lot of music theater in high school as well. So music's just always kind of been a piece of my life. Um, and so I feel very blessed to be able to give it back to my community every Sunday, 9:30. We've because our cantors sing at the front. I refuse to sing at the front. I don't want people looking at me. I sing from the back of the church, and people like call the office, the church office, and like, who is this person? Who is this man that sings at the 9:30? I have to know. Um, and of course, being able to give back to the community on the evening of July 3rd, this year in particular. As I said, my grandfather served in the United States Air Force. He passed away in the end of April, and so um, that was this last year was just a really good opportunity to just pay tribute to him with the Armed Forces salute and pretty much everything else. He was not a musician, but his father was, and he was a music lover. So we need as many music lovers as there are music makers, if not more. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, Joe. At Jake at school, Joe would we had this thing called open mic night where um
oh,
you could just sign up for whatever. And the Joes were always like my favorite because it was like so well thought out. At least it came off that way. And then um always like something surprising, got the crowd excited. And yeah, I wanted Joe to share a little bit about his history because I know that it helped a lot of us have great memories back from school. So it's
Yeah,
exciting that he's able to use that kind of skill from music in order to make those moments for people.
absolutely. Do you draw a pretty big crowd, Tom?
Yeah.
It's the real deal.
the one I remember was, and I was not trying to be silly. I wasn't trying to do it for an audience. Freshman year, our last final first semester was this really, really intense philosophy exam, and no one slept. Everyone was like pulling all-nighters, stressing. I think I was operating on like an hour of sleep, a shrimp ramen, and a shot of espresso at the end of that exam. So I felt like I was gonna puke, and I had no sleep, and I was about to go and fail this test. And I sat down in the hall that we were gonna take the exam in. The front room there was a grand piano, and I just sat down. I play piano sometimes just to de-stress, and I played Billy Joel's piano. And like within the first verse, two verses, the entirety of our class has just circled around the piano, and we're all like just singing Piano Man at the top of our lungs and enjoying it, this moment together as a class. In hindsight, I should have done Good Night Saigon, and we'll all go down together. But Piano Man was good enough. So, but music does bring people together.
That's awesome. Good way to use it. Use your talents in a way that's contributing to. I'm sure that felt good. Probably loosened up the rest of everybody. Everyone else in the class. Did everyone ace it? Ace the test after that?
Oh, I have
So
no
loosened
idea.
up.
There were worse exams in later years, but that one was just particularly intimidating.
Yeah. Did you at least do well on it? Did it help you? The
I think I
pre-game
think I
ritual?
blacked out for like that test. I don't remember anything about it.
It was an afterthought after that.
Yeah, I just had like an out of body experience.
That happened a lot to us, Jake. Like, especially junior year math. Like everyone went in. All like we were so prepared. We had spent I don't know how many hours with our math tutor. We had nailed everything from the practice study guide. we were ready to rock this thing, and we go in there, and everyone sits down, smiles. We open the first page, frowns came on everyone's faces.
I knew we were in trouble when some of the smartest people in our class like opened the book and they're just kind of like, everyone just went white.
Yeah, and then it's funny in retrospect, but like people started to leave crying, and like it was serious. Like
Wow.
everyone was like, "Do you know what this is?" And like everyone was like, "No," and then we're like just looking at each other, like hoping the time would pass, and then we just like diddle around on the pages, like hoping something will come out, and it was quite a nightmare. But we had a few of those. It was rough, to say the least.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I know that feeling, but for me, it was just from not studying. I can't imagine actually putting the time in and then getting to the actual test and not have no having no idea what's going on. Feels like the teacher's playing a cruel trick on you.
My philosophy by my last semester was after like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock dinner time, like I could study all I wanted, it wasn't going in. I had learned that about myself. Like my brain had checked out. And somehow I got through the entirety of senior year last round of finals. Every night I went to the bar and had a double bourbon and a basket of fries. Like, and it wasn't like I intentionally said I'm going to go and drink my way through finals week. It was legitimately like, oh, I gotta have drinks with this person before I go away, and I'm never gonna see them again. And oh, this person we've been trying to get together for ages, and oh, the leftovers in the cafeteria tonight. I'm just going out. Just wound up there every single night, and like not been like I it's not going to go in. I'm not going to be able to study anymore. I remember one night I said, "Oh, let's go get drinks and everyone take a break from studying." And I go into our campus. We have this little bar on campus. I go in there and they're all in there with beer, but they're still studying. And I'm like, "Nope, well, I'm done. You got the wrong idea here."
Those two don't go together.
That was the metaphysics exam, which I had already accepted I was going to fail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's tough on a small campus when everyone knows each other. Uh, you're almost guaranteed to run into someone while you're trying to get your studying done. So that's I mean, how many people are at or were at Wyoming Catholic? I guess when you guys were there, what was the because
Oh,
you guys graduated the same year, right?
yeah.
So what was
Total
your
student.
graduating class size?
42.
Were we in the 40s?
I think it was
Low
40.
40s?
Well, 42. I remember.
I think
Okay.
so.
We started out with 59.
I want to say we're like 60 something. Like we broke some record.
We did break a
Okay.
record. Then we lost like 19 people, and we gained 3.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that was so in junior year as well. So the same semester we had that awful math final. We also had a terrifying music final, and so the professor that came in from England wanted to show everyone that they didn't know that much, and we were trying our best to cram and like study. So I was with Joe like so many hours getting ready for that final. We were just going over everything, like how does this work, how do chords work, um, what's the circle of fifths, all the things, and yeah, like you can share the story, Joe, but Joe had an amazing mic drop for that final because everyone was like freaking out. We were like, well, we were told like you'll have 3 or 4 hours and you won't have enough time to finish, so just choose your questions wisely. And then Joe just totally mic drops.
I I had already taken pretty much all of the content of that class in high school. So for me, the entire class was this cakewalk, very straightforward. Like I was just learning the same thing a different way. So I was like, all right, cool, great. I get this exam and he's the professor's basically, you got like 3-4 hours. He's like, you better take the entire time, otherwise you're probably going to fail. Like, you should take the entire time. And I got through the test in like an hour, and I'm like sitting there sweating because I'm like, I can't go turn this in right now. He's gonna make me sit back down. Like, I can't, I just can't. And I'm like, so I went over and I like triple checked all my work, and I'm like, yeah, this is right. There was like one question I knew I couldn't answer, one of the essay questions, because I think I fell asleep in that class. Um, like one of our 3-hour classes, where we were just like up in that big classroom in the hot, dark room. So um I I remember that I took the exam up to turn it in, and I was like, I'm done, professor. And he was like, "No, you're not, are you sure?" And I'm like, Yeah, I'm done. I've like checked the work 3 times." He was like, "Cool." And he like gaslighted me into thinking that because I had gotten done in an hour, I was clearly gonna fail. And so I walked out of there just sweating, and I was like, I'm going to bomb this class. And like then he puts the exams in our mailboxes, and I got like an A. It was like this beautiful like 96, something like that.
Yeah, because I was sitting across from the table from Joe, so I see him get up, and he just walks over and hands it to him. I'm like, bruh, like Joe is the man. Like he just owned this thing. But yeah, I'm over there like double checking, like, oh man, I hope that's right. I think we talked about this, and it was just an amazing moment because we were all so terrified, and Joe was like, "No, doc, I got this."
Led the
He
way.
made me nervous. That professor made me really nervous because he knew I knew my stuff. So I was constantly like, and I used to check in with my professors. We were small enough where you could just be like, "Hey, how am I doing? Is my participation good? Where am I on track to get a good grade in this class? What can I be doing better?" You could just go and have office hours with them and ask them that. And he would just like be a closed book. And he's like, "If I want you to know, you'll know." And I was just like, that's not good.
Really boosts a man's confidence.
It kept me humble.
Yeah, there was a lot of those moments, Jake, where like, um, I think maybe we should make an anthem, Joe, about being getting through WCC, because there were so many times when you would go to class, especially like for relativity when we were doing that. Like you go to
Oh,
class, we learn about this huge idea, and then we do like sample problems in the class. So we're like, okay, we could do that. We learn this, and then we're given the practice homework, and it's like 3 or 4 steps ahead of what we learned, and we're trying to extrapolate what we learned from how to get there. And so we spent I don't know how many hours collectively, like 2 hours, like every night. We're just standing in front of a whiteboard, like, do you know how to do this? No. We could try this, or we try it, and like that's not the right answer. It was just time and again. It was like I think they're trying to really either make us grow or break us down enough to think we're growing. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
I
Well, it
used to
is.
complain about that so much because what they would do, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what they
No,
would
you're good.
do, these math professors, we'd spend an entire class breaking down some formula. I don't know, let's say the quadratic formula. Let's spend 45 minutes writing a proof to show why the quadratic formula works, but not really talking about how to use the quadratic formula. And of course, we had people coming from all different mathematical backgrounds. So some people got it, some people were hadn't even finished algebra one. And you know, we spend all this time talking about why the quadratic formula works, and then they give us the homework that was essentially using the quadratic formula, and you'd be like, "What do I do with this? You didn't teach me this."
Yeah, we felt like we were up a stream without a boat or a paddle. Sometimes, like we would get in there and we're just hoping we'll make it through.
Yeah.
I don't know
Sure,
if
it
they
was a
found.
good way. Good way to bond with your classmates, though.
Oh
Staying
yeah,
up late, working on the chalkboard, trying to sort through the problems.
Tom doesn't stay up late.
That was the exception.
Me too. Like I said, it was like by like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at the latest. It was just like I'm not. It won't go in. So,
Yeah. Yeah. There's only, I don't know, after 10 o'clock for me, studying wise. Yeah. Nothing's, you're not going to, you know what you know at that point. You might as well close the
oh
book,
yeah,
take the
I'd
test in the
rather
morning.
get a night's sleep and get up an hour early and just
Yeah.
like review one last time. Better yet, go to the gym.
Right. Yeah. It's another good thing to do. Get the endorphins running, get on that high before you walk in, face the test.
Yeah, that was something Joe and I kept a good rhythm of. We were gym partners, from, like, well, sophomore through senior year. Every morning we'd train. So good. And when senior weeks would come up, or finals weeks, we would look at each other like, so I think we just stick to what we're doing. It's working well this far, so we'll just get up. And everyone else is like panicking, staying up late, getting up early, trying to figure out how to do everything. And we were like so calm. Like we would just go to breakfast. We were talking. We were even thinking about finals. We're like, we go prep for a little bit, get into the final, and then do pretty well. I mean, except for the ones we talked about, but
Yeah. No, that's big. Staying loose. That's the key. I always yeah, I performed the best on my college test when I wasn't overthinking it, putting in the
Oh yeah,
adequate study time, and then don't go too crazy, stress yourself out otherwise. You'll
have a rhythm, and keep yourself loose.
yeah.
I stayed ahead of the curve with like my senior thesis, so I had a draft written before the senior year started. So when the draft was due mid October, and the entire class is like flipping out and trying to cram, I'm sitting at the bar having a beer and watching them all run by, sweating.
Must have been nice. That would not have been me. I would have been the one cramming. I would have
No, it
started
wasn't.
end
It
of
wasn't
September.
nice in the end because they're all. I'm like, hey, they're like, shut up.
You're just isolated then.
Like, look at you on your high horse, overachiever.
That's funny.
those good times. Do you think, Joe, that like you'll still on the side like do get-togethers with your new classmates at law school? Like, I don't know, have music nights or things like that, or what are your hopes with that?
I'm gonna wait and see what my rhythm is out there. So I know the gym is super important to me. So I know whatever my routine ends up being, I'm working going to the gym into that. I Everyone talks about the workload at law school just being this tremendous freight train of reading. Most people who go to law school didn't go to WCC, which had a higher than normal volume every night of reading. The difference is you can't triage in law school and you can't skim. You have to come briefed on all your cases because they're going to call you out on it. And if you don't know how to answer it, that's the real life equivalent of the waking up naked nightmare that everyone has. So I'm gonna wait and see what the volume really looks like, what is gonna work for me for studying. Because I know a lot of law students create study groups, kind of like the nerd table and um the other table in Baldwin Building. Um, so that may be the socializing for the time. It might not be. Um, I definitely want to find opportunities to keep music in my life socially, if not, um, as a break. I will find the music building on my campus, and I will find a piano to play. And that is not a threat; that is a promise. Um, And I'll be 45 minutes away from Professor Hodgkinson, our former director. He's moved to Marion, Ohio, so I'll have a good mass music to go listen to every Sunday. So
Man, how did he end up out there?
no clue. I can't get away from him.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, that's
He
hilarious.
missed me as a work study student too much.
Yeah. He was like the only person he could hand everything to and expect things. I heard that after you left, things got a little crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, it's gonna be great though. I mean, super excited for you in that next plan of your life and phase. I definitely would be a little intimidated, I think, by law, but we definitely need lots of good people to understand that material, how it works, how it functions, and then able to bring that skill to the marketplace.
Yeah. I'm intimidated. I'm definitely, but you taught me grit. Um, you were one of the people that taught me grit with CrossFit, so I'm looking forward to flying that in this never-ending cascade of petty cases. And boy, are these things petty. I'm gonna have to read one for orientation, and it's like some lady sued her sister because her 5-year-old nephew pulled a chair out from under her and she broke a hip. And the
What?
question is the 5-year-old legally liable?
Wow, that's crazy.
Is the 5-year-old legally liable for battery because he pulled the chair out? So
Oof.
the next time you have me on the show, I'll have the answer to that question.
Well, I was planning on inviting you back after we get those projects underway and we can talk about them
Yes.
to the audience and everything. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear that answer. I'm thinking right now, I'm like, I don't think you could, but
Yeah, no, that would really go well with the podcast too. Getting that theme song on, and you'll have to keep us posted. Keep us posted on that. I'll be excited when it comes out. But
Absolutely.
yeah, we're coming up on about an hour here, so I just want to say thank you again, Joe, for coming on. It was great chatting with you. Always welcome back whenever available. I know your schedule will be getting a lot busier here pretty soon, so maybe sometime before the end of the summer, we'll say.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'll be in touch with you guys. Absolutely. It was an honor to be invited.
Awesome. Tom, you got anything else to say?
yeah, just really thankful, Joe, that you got on and able to talk about these ideas. Definitely going to look at music, especially patriotic music, more with an attentive ear. And yeah, super excited for our continued work together and best of luck for law school.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you again, Joe, and thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. As always, feel free to drop a like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you all next week. Thanks, guys.